Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. This is a session that we're very grateful that Google is helping facilitate that's going to explore 5 phenomenal formative assessment tools. My name is Mark Salzer. I'm here along with 4 of my colleagues from Plymouth Can Community Schools in Southeast Michigan, and we're going to be exploring 5 tools, as I mentioned. They're not just for assessments, they're also for, in many cases, student responses to gather information about various ideas that our students have. They can range for students from kindergarten through post-secondary. The format that we're going to take today is that we're going to first explore a tool for about 8 minutes, and then another tool, and so on through the list. We're excited if you have questions. We'd welcome their submission. We will circle back at the end of our formal presentation and try to cover all of those questions. Please understand that we are very big believers in collegiality and collaboration. Would want to encourage you to consider sending an email to us, technology@pccsk12.com. It's in our session materials, and you'll find it on the tag below when you go to the session materials list. For any of those submissions that you send to us, we're going to put your contribution, whether it's here's a tool that I'm using, it's different than the one you're showing, or here's how I'm using one of the tools you all showcased today. So we look forward to a collaborative effort as the days and weeks unfold. Without further ado, I'm going to explore one of the tools, but actually before I do, I'm going to actually show you our session materials site just ever so briefly, so bear with me, and here we go. And I got over here. All right. So first off, here's our session materials site, and we have a table that's listing all of our various tools that we're going to be looking through today. And we first do a very brief overview that has links, and then following that we have a more substantive exploration of each of those tools, and with a format that we followed pretty standard across the board, what grade levels might be most appropriate, etc., and how to sign up. The first tool that we're going to look at is Socrative, and Socrative is a wonderful tool that is currently in use by over 21 million students, as well as 1 million+ teachers. I'm actually going to get out of the site just for a moment and show you what it looks like when we first come in. And I'll go here. All right. So a site that's being used around the world in over 170 countries. 250,000 of the teachers that are using it are not based in the United States. It's a visual tool that allows individuals to solicit feedback from their students as well as gauge their understanding. The way it works, you'll go to Socrative.com to sign up. You'll click on Teacher Login. I've already made an account. After you've made an account, you can sign in with Google. I'm actually just going to sign in right now and start to work through what it looks like on the inside. Type slower. All right, so here's the dashboard for Socrative. And I'm going to first show you Quick Question. This is a very neat tool that you can use. You would click on Quick Question after you've logged in. Actually, I got to back up another hair, sorry. When you first go in and make an account, which I've already done, you're being asked several questions, including your name, an email address, and the like. One of the things that is then made is a room for you, and each Socrative account that you make only gives you access to one room in which up to 50 concurrent participants or students can be logged in at one time. It'll be an alphanumeric room name, and what you'll want to do very likely is go to Profile and change it to something that's a little bit more user-friendly, especially depending on your age group, but I've customized it to put Mr. Salzer's class. So, and once I've done that and submitted the changes, then a student, if they were to come in and click on student login, they would go in and type in Mr. Salzer's class and be able to join in. So this is what a student's going to see when they first log into my class. I haven't set anything up yet, but I will. So I'm going to go out of this, go to my dashboard. The first thing I might want to do is ask a question. So I, have 3 choices for questions. The first choice is I can say to the students, and this is a question that I would say out loud. I would ask a question with up to 5 choices. They will see A, B, C, D, or E. So what is not a color in the United States flag? Red, white, blue, or yellow. And then I would toss that out to the students. A student would be logged in, and they might say, well, it isn't A, which is red, white, blue. It must be this one, and they'd submit an answer. And the teacher, for their part, would see that a student had selected this answer, and we have it, and there's another one that's submitting something else. So we'd have a really quick way to gauge the student's level of understanding of something. True, false limits it to just 2 choices. So if I were to say, was George Washington the first George Washington was the first president, is that true or false? Then the students would see the true, false, and make a choice. The real neat thing in the quick question is the short answer. So if I were to say to the students, what should we call our pet hamster? We just got a new pet hamster. Pet names. And I'd say they can give me as many responses as they would like. They can either make it anonymous or not. I click Start. The students are going to see, I'm going to call, Harry. That's the name I want to give. And I'm going to just log in under another student name, and I'm going to say I can give it Fred. I could do this a few times. What's neat is when we've collected the feedback, if you see there, I got a few more names that are going to come in. I can then say Start to Vote. When I've collected as much feedback as I would have hoped for, I click Start to Vote. And then all of the students can participate in choosing which one of these names is the one that they prefer. And this could be, instead of pet names, it could be what questions might we want to ask on our final exam at the end of the week. So students can solicit or can submit possible choices of names, of questions that they would like to have on the test, and perhaps the top certain number might be actually included. So they have a way to contribute to the progress of the class. So this is one option, a short answer that allows you to have a voting or polling afterwards. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to finish this, clear things out. I could then go and look and get a report and see all the responses that I'd had. I can actually dump it into Google Drive. Pretty neat. But I'm going to just go to my dashboard. Next, that's kind of a little bit quicker, I'm going to cover the ones that are quick first. The exit ticket. If I click on exit ticket, it only asks 3 questions. And so I'm going to just show you what the students would see on their end. They're going to give their name. So my name is Mark. And then they're going to be asked, how do you understand this? So this is just when you're leaving the classroom, did you get the material or not, or whatnot? And they can make a vote as to where they're at. What did I take away from the class today? Bats fly, whatever it is. And I could have some other things. And then I have an optional spot for me to ask one question that I'm soliciting some feedback from. So that would be it. And then I would see the feedback from my class. Pretty nifty, very quick. And what's nice about Socrative is it's available and used on all types of platforms, all types of devices. It can be an iOS device, an Android, a Chromebook, anything that has a browser, and many devices that have apps. There are apps in their store for it. The last 2 to explore, the Start a Quiz gives me an option to create a quiz of any length I would like. I can add images. I got one right here that I just started. Oops, I'm actually not wanting to start. I want to modify the quiz. So I'm going to go to, instead of Start a Quiz, I'm going to click on Manage My Quizzes. And I'm just going to go to this quiz that I began. And I can either delete it, duplicate it, download it. I'm going to click Edit. So I have just a few questions, and you have options: true, false, or multiple choice or short answer. And you can have as many answer choices as you would like. You can have multiple correct answers that are available, if you notice on the right-hand side. And you can have images. And finally, you can have a feedback that's available for the students. So you can allow the students to get an explanation of the answer, correct or otherwise, in this box that you see underneath the word explanation. And finally, for short answer, I can choose, if I would like, to have one or more key terms in my short answer trigger a correct, that the answer that was submitted, the response that was submitted, is correct. So it allows me some flexibility. I can ask a complicated question, but if I'm looking for a couple of phrases, I can put them in there, and any and all that are in the correct answers box allows me, if I want, to be assigning that response as correct. So several options there. And a nifty other thing with the quizzes is that I'm permitted and encouraged to share with the community. So there's a large growing community, over 1 million teachers that are participating in Socrative, and many of them have shared quizzes that they've made. And so you would click on Import Quiz, and you would find, and there's a link in our resource page to a number of the quizzes that are out there in the public for you to be able to pull in, something that's already been ready-made. I do want to note that while the questions come in and the correct answers that have been marked by another colleague come in, no associated images, if there are any, are actually imported. So you have to, kind of be careful if they're asking, is this an invertebrate or not? You're not going to see the image that the students in the original or initial test saw, so you would have to provide your own. So just read your imported quiz, which I would presume you do in any case. They do in the spreadsheet that you can go to the community and view. You can do searches for terms and phrases or subject matter, and you can also tag your quiz with Common Core benchmarks that then others can follow along with. And you can finally, in this import page, you can create a quiz in Excel or in Google Sheets and download it and then re-import it in. And there's a template to use to follow, and they encourage you to follow their template. It's pretty straightforward. It has pull-down choices. Creating a quiz, as I said, you can do multiple choice, true, false, short answer, and add images, add your answer choices, etc. Reports dumps into Google Drive. The last thing to share with you is the space race. And this is a neat way to engage our students in some type of assessment that you've decided. You can choose a quiz, and I could choose one of the quizzes I have. You can choose how many are going to participate in terms of teams. Maybe you're going to divide the class in half or in thirds or whatnot. So you can make a multitude of teams. You can have them auto-assigned, so when students log in, they automatically get placed into a team in equal distribution. Or you can allow them to choose. They want to buddy up with their pals at a particular table. You can have that happen as well. And you can choose what kind of little image is showcased that the students are going to see if you project along on your wall. So one of the neat things about Socrative is it's a visual tool to allow not just you, but your class to see in real time their feedback. It validates feedback, it permits anonymous feedback, or you can insist on having named feedback. And you can allow whether they're going to get the feedback immediately or not. I should return ever so briefly to the quizzes just to help you with an understanding of what can be nuanced in a quiz. When I'm going to begin a quiz, for instance, if I wanted to say I want to start the quiz on capitals, I get to choose whether it's going to be the student goes at a particular pace and they get immediate feedback, I got this answer right or not. I can have it be where they can choose any of the questions that are on the quiz and they can bounce back and forth and submit as they choose, or I can have it be it's going to be in the order that I want them to proceed and no other. Finally, if you'll notice the additional settings, I can disable that they have to submit their names. I can choose to randomize the questions that they have on the quiz. I can choose to randomize the answers that they see on the quiz. So that would inhibit people from sharing inadvertently what they see. And I can disable that feedback mechanism if I would like. It's a really tremendous tool. I would invite you to explore it at great length. A lot of others have and found it to be quite exciting. It's available in a multitude of languages, and the resource page has quite a lot of material to support you as you explore Socrative. With that, I'm going to turn this tool exploration over to my colleague, and Rick is going to share with you, and here he is.
Hi everybody, coming to you live from Wayne State University in Detroit. I'm at Ed Camp today, and it's a pretty exciting place to be. I had to relocate because the teachers were getting rowdy. But at any rate, I'm going to share with you today a tool called Nearpod. And just a caveat before I start, the best thing about Nearpod is that most teachers use PowerPoint or Google Slides to do some kind of direct lessons, and a lot of that is lecture-based. And we know in a student-centered classroom, we want to do less lecture and more hands-on kinds of interactive activities. So what Nearpod can do is actually take a traditional sort of sit-and-get kind of lecture scenario and turn it into something that's interactive, something that forces 100% of your students to interact with the direct lesson, and also it gives you an incredible amount of formative data. So you can run reports afterwards and do all kinds of amazing things. So I'll just get into the tool now. So I'm going to share my screen with you. It appears everybody can see my screen now. So here's when your students go to nearpod.com, or when you go to nearpod.com for the first time, this is the screen you'll see. I happen to be on a Chromebook, so there is an available app. So I have an app in my apps launcher, and that's not it right there. I put it in one of these folders. At any rate, I'll come back to that when I talk about the different platforms it's available on. Either way, the app is going to take you to the screen. Students, quite simply, all they have to do is enter an access code in here. But for teachers, the first time you go in, you're going to go ahead and log in, and you can do so with your Google credentials. Recommend just using, if you're a Google Apps for Education domain, go ahead and use that. Since I've logged in with those credentials before, it's a pretty quick process. I just log in here with Google, wait a moment to load, and I'm in instantly. While that's loading, I do want to share with you a couple of limitations in terms of this is a free resource, but it's also freemium. So there are a bunch of benefits that you would get with the paid version. But once you get in, your home screen looks like this, and these are sort of tabs that you can visit. The first tab is your library. So your library is where you either publish your own presentations that you've created. Explore is where you would actually go shopping for what I would say are canned presentations. The nice thing about the canned presentations is they're created by teachers. You have a join tab, which would, if you want to, you would enter a session pin right there from that account. Create is where you can pull in existing PowerPoint presentations. And then reports. That's where you would go after a session to get the specific formative assessment data on how your students performed during the session. So the first thing I'll do, actually, because this is one thing that sort of sets it apart from other similar services, is the Explore page. And what this is Nearpod's store, and we have a way to search. There's quite a bit in here. They show you the new, the featured, the top free, the top paid. So there are some presentations in here that cost a little bit of money. However, most of them are about between $2 and $3 per presentation, should you choose to do that. My favorite tool in the store is actually using this tag function, and I can drill down by subject, and I can also look, say I just want to look for free apps, I can add these sort of tags, and then furthermore I have grade. I can go by grade level, and then I can even go by publisher or author. So these are folks that are creating Nearpod presentations. So I'm looking at free, and I'm looking at some particular ones for 7th grade. I might drill down even further and look for ELA presentations. And it shows me up at the top that that's my search query. So if I want something, if I see something that I like, for example, let's say this is compelling to me, I'm going to click on it. And before I add it to my library, I can actually just preview it. I can go through, and it tells me, you know, a little bit about the presentation or who created it. And then I can actually click through the whole thing. It also shows me the activities that are a part of the Nearpod presentation. So I can actually, if I decide that I like this, I can just grab it for free. And then I can click Show in my library. And that is where I would actually launch the presentation from. So as I was getting ready to use it with my students, I would click on Live Session and give my students this code. Okay, so that's actually from this screen, the students would put the code in there, and they would essentially join live my presentation with their devices. The cool thing is, if you're in a BYOD environment and your students are coming to you with all different kinds of devices, iPod Touches, iPads, Android tablets, Chromebooks, MacBooks, anything, it works on anything. As long as it has a web browser and it's connected to the internet, they can get and interact with the Nearpod presentation. So I can shuffle through, and if I had given the code, you would see a screen here where students can actually sign in, and they can add their name to it. So that's pretty powerful. I'm going to leave this presentation for a moment and get back here. So there's a store. I can go shopping. The other thing I can do is create presentations. Now I can create presentations right inside Nearpod. It's somewhat limited in terms of what you can do. I'll just open up an existing sort of a blank presentation here, and you can see there's just a couple of general slides. I can remove those, and I can add slides. So if I were to add a slide, I have options. I can add content, and I can do anything from pulling in a slide from another presentation. I can add a video easily. For many of these services, you can actually do a YouTube search right within Nearpod, and then preview it right inside here. So I could preview it and then add it into my presentation very simply. Another thing I can do is I can add audio, slideshow. There's a PDF viewer, so if you have something in PDF format that you want to pull in, you can do that. and you can include your live Twitter stream as well. Adding web content is really simple. So anywhere you want your students to go, you can push that link out to them all at once without the students having to type anything in. It's a real time saver. Had I put the link in there and click Save, it would add that link in. I can also add activities, and this is the formative assessment part. Open-ended questions. So we all know what that is. It gives students a writing space. I think up to 50 words or so. You can do a poll. You can add a quiz right in there, and then run the report later and have some assessment data to add to your grade book. There's a drawing activity. Students can use their mouse to draw, fill in the blanks, and then a matching pairs activity. They all do quite different things. So let me back out of this sort of blank presentation. There we go. I'm going to show you a presentation that I actually just pulled in. This was a Google slide presentation. Now, Google slide presentations are a little bit different the way you pull them in. You actually need, and I'll have a resource posted to the link to this. It's actually, there's an extension up here at the top right. It's called Nearpod Eyes This. And the way you pull in a Google slide presentation is you have to have your slide presentation open. And then you would actually have to click on the Nearpod Eyes This, and it would pull that presentation in automatically. So here I am in the presentation. I've added some activities already. You can tell that you've done that essentially by, you can see these sort of little blue icons here. So I know this is a video, this is a web link, but it's really simple. One of my favorite things to do is to take students on a virtual field trip. So what I would do was add a slide, and I'm going to add web content. And I want to take them to the Eiffel Tower, for example. I could do just a general Google search for that. I get my maps view. I can click on the maps, and once that loads, I can get to the street view of the Eiffel Tower. So in a moment, something's going to pop up down here at the corner. It is like a little yellow icon, looks like a little person, and I can get to that street view pretty simply. See, I think the teachers are back from lunch here. Everybody's hopping on Wi-Fi again. So I can grab this little guy here. Come on, little guy. There we go. I can fly him over right over here, drop him into the street view. I think the default for this is being, well, I'm not on top of the Eiffel Tower. Not exactly where I want to be, but I can position myself to the place I want to be. Let's say I want to take them to the top. So I'll go there. Once I find the view that I want for my students to have, I'm going to just copy and paste that link into my Nearpod presentation. I can test the link out to make sure it works, but it does work every time. And then I added that right to my slide presentation. It drops it in down here, but you can reposition them. Everything's sort of drag and drop. Okay? And so, again, I can continue to add content. So I have an existing presentation that I can add multiple videos and different activities. I can put a quiz in here. Oh, I actually hit the wrong button. You can add a quiz. Here's the quiz building tool. Okay, so you can put in multiple choice. You have the option of putting in images, and it's really a simple interface to use. Again, the power being that once you give your students the code, their screen is essentially taken over by you. Now, they could navigate to other tabs, but when you ask them a question, it forces some 100% activity. So I guess it's about time to stop. Nearpod is, I guess, a mile deep. You could really do quite a bit with it, and if we had more time, I'd show you more, but I need to turn it over to my colleague here, and I'm going to try to stop screen sharing so we can see it. Sorry about that, guys. I get really excited about Nearpod. I don't know what to tell you. I believe it's Brian next, yes? I can't hear anybody. Oh, it's Eric. Okay. Eric, go ahead.
All right, today I will be sharing Pear Deck with you. I think we need to switch screens. Pear Deck is another great tool for people who already have presentations made. I have a Google presentation made today that I'll be sharing with you, and the great thing about Pear Deck is that I can take that presentation that I already have made and easily throw it into Pear Deck. So I go into my Google Drive, then I can go to New, and how you get this is you go to Connect More Apps. So if you go down to More and you go to Connect More Apps, you can find Pear Deck by searching for Pear Deck. Right here, you can add it to your Google Drive. Mine's already added, so I won't connect it again. And once it's added to your drive, you go to New, go to More, and then you can launch Pear Deck. Once it's launched, you have some options. You can create a brand new Pear Deck, or you can import a PowerPoint, a Google presentation, or a PDF. Today I'm going to upload or insert a presentation that I made. So I'm going to click on Insert a Presentation. It goes to where I can search for presentations. I can upload from my desktop, and I can go get PDFs right off my desktop or my hard drive. I have it up in Google Drive. I select it. It's going to process my slides, and it's going to create a new deck with a presentation that I've already been doing for years with a second grade class. Now I want to make it a little bit more interactive because they have devices now, and them sitting there watching me, go through the slides up on the screen just wasn't as engaging. Now that they have devices, I'm going to create a little bit more interactive tool for them to use, and it also helps me see if they're understanding the information that I'm presenting. So over here you'll see that my slides were imported from presentation. I can click on a slide, and once I'm on my slide, I can go over to the side over here, and I can choose responses that I want them to have. Now this first slide is just an introduction slide. I might just ask them a quick question like, are you excited to learn about maps today? And I can put in a multiple choice slide. I only need to say yes or no. Type in yes, type in no. And I can ask that out loud, or I can actually put it up here in the title and say, are you excited to learn about maps? Do that, and then I can go to my next slide. On this slide, I talk a little bit about what maps are and what they can, what they do. And down here, I have my next slide. On this slide, I want them to not only understand what a legend is, but maybe be able to point something out to me that I asked them, and make sure they understand how to read a legend. So I might do the draggable slide. This slide will put a red dot, green dot, blue dot, whatever you want, so that they can drag this dot over something that I've asked them. and I can make the size of the dot bigger or smaller. So I put a red dot on there. I chose my slide content because they're just going to drag it over the slide content. I then have my compass. I can ask a simple question again on this compass after I explain to them what a compass is, where it's located on a map. You guys get the drift here. And again, it's all over on the right-hand side of the slide. I can do a freehand drawing, multiple choice, free response text, free response numbers. Here I have a map. We're learning about when you have a paper map out, you can look at the index and you can find where things are on a map by just going to where is Sturgis, and it's at J3. I can go to J over to 3. I'm going to be able to find Sturgis. I could explain that to them, and then if I wanted them to understand it a little bit more, to help myself see if they understood what I was talking about, I could then do another one of these. I love the draggable slides. And I can have them put a green dot over where they think they're where they think something is. So I'm going to ask them where Coldwater, Michigan is. Actually, where Portage, Michigan is. I'll do Portage, Michigan. Where is Portage, Michigan on the map? And just like Nearpod, I can add a new slide. I can add a YouTube video. I can add a list. I can add a text block. I can add an image. The YouTube is very nice. I can search for a video on scale. It's hard for kids to understand scale. Taking on a map, taking how many inches equals so many miles. So I can find a great YouTube video on map scales. Intro, and then search for the video, and I can actually insert any video that I find into there and ask a question. So it's a great tool. It's quick, it's easy, and then when you're all done and you've got these questions answered, you can start presenting. I have different views that I can present. I have the open projector view, and then I also have a student view. I actually have a page ready to go. The code for the student is CEUHV, so I can go into and type in CEUHV. My Pear Deck is ready to go for the student, and as the teacher, I'm going to do a projector view. There's the code again. And then down at the bottom, I have 2 students that have joined this class. I can click over here. Are you ready and excited to learn about maps? And you'll notice I already have one response from one of my students. This is what it looks like on the student. Are you excited to learn about maps? And I can hit yes as a student. I can lock the answers. So if I don't want them to change their answer, I can lock the student responses right now. I can also show the student responses. 2 people are excited to learn about it, so I can show that up on the big screen, or I can see it myself. Turn those back off. On the legend, this is where I talk to them a little bit about the legend, and I might say, hey, locate on the legend and let me know if there's a volleyball court. And if I go to the legend, I have a tool that allows me to drag in the student view. It allows me to drag a dot over to to see if there's a volleyball court. So I would drag this down here and be like, yep, there's a volleyball court. Go back to the presentation. I can check the answers again. I can lock answers so that if students are seeing this and talking to their friends, you can lock the answer. And again, so you can see as I keep going through these, I can also, this is the one is where is Portage, Michigan on the map. Go look at the student one. And then I can say Portage, Michigan. I would say I3. I found that over here. Then I go to I3. There's Portage, Michigan. Go back to my teacher view. And we're all done. And then here's the video I imported that the kids could watch a video at the end. And that's Pear Deck. It's pretty simple. Again, I had this made already that I used to use before, and now I was able to make it a little bit more interactive for the students. I can now even go through and look at the, after I end the session, I can give it a name, math lesson, save it, close it, and then I can look at all the answers in my session. And I can see the people who were in it, in the session, and responses that they made in a grid or a table. And so you can imagine if you had 30 kids in your classroom, you could go through and see how they responded and do some grading that way. I can also export it to a Google spreadsheet. And that's Pear Deck. It's quick, it's easy, I love it. It's built right into Google Drive for me. And so I just go to Google Drive and open it up that way. Not much to learn. That is it. Now I'm gonna go off to Brian, and he's gonna show you another great tool called Kahoot.
Hello, welcome. I'm Brian Vanderzeel. I'm one of the technology integration specialists for Plymouth Canton Schools. We're answering questions on the live feed right now, so if you have any questions, post your questions there, and we have part of our team on there answering questions. You can also use our hashtag PCCSEdTech, and we'll be following that too. I'm going to show you Kahoot today. Kahoot's a really great tool to do some assessments. I like to use Kahoot even before I give an assessment, just to see where I need to focus on before the big test. I'm going to do some screen sharing with you right now. I'm going to start off with a quick demo of Kahoot so you can kind of see how Kahoot works. And then I'll show you how to create your own Kahoot and how to use the Kahoot store to find some materials that are on there. So on Kahoot, I have the teacher view on one side and the student view on the other side. The student view is the cell phone looking view. What's great about Kahoot is it works on any device that has a browser. So your smartphone, Chromebook, PC, Mac, Kindle, it works on any of those devices as long as it has access to a browser and the internet. Students will punch in the game pin. They join at kahoot.it. When they go to kahoot.it, they'll get a screen that looks like this cell phone screen here, and they'll enter in the game pin. If I type my game pin in correctly. Let's relaunch this Kahoot. Sorry about that. We're going to relaunch this Kahoot. I might have got timed out as I was sitting here. So this is the preview mode of Kahoot, where you can actually see your Kahoots and have the teacher and student view. Oh, here comes my game pin, 757190. Once you enter in your game pin, you'll type in a name. I can see that players have joined over here. If a student types in a name that's inappropriate, I can quickly exit out. In Kahoot, when you're asking questions, you can insert images, you can insert videos. My first question here, what year was Google founded? Students will then select what they think is the correct answer. I set it for a 30-second timer. You can set the timer longer or shorter if you like. If students answer before the 30 seconds, then they will be able to, it will automatically continue to the next question for you, so you don't have to wait for the timer to go all the way through. So it tells me on the student view if I got it right or if I got it wrong as soon as I answer it. I can see I got that one incorrect. The teacher can see who are the top people in the classroom. It only shows the top 5, which is nice. I also can, so this is an image I added in. I can see how many people are getting this right, how many people are getting it wrong. Here's an example of where I've actually inserted a video clip onto my Kahoot.
This is how people do it now, Nikki. They have their interviews on the internet. I like it. I know. Okay, here they are. Now, when I hit this, they'll be able to see us. So come on and get in there close so we can be seen in the webcam. See how tall the webcam is? No, get cheek. Nick, come here. But don't crowd me.
We can see you guys.
Okay, good. You got it? Hi, my name is Billy.
Oh, we can hear you fine as well.
I can see my answers coming in over here.
Nick Campbell.
I'm Benjamin.
Allison, we're going to ask you a few questions that some of our candidates find a little bit odd.
Let's go. No judgment. Shoot.
You're shrunken down to the size of nickels and dropped to the bottom of a blender. What do?
You take her flat on your back like this. You just lay back, enjoy that breeze, pretend it's a fan. And let those bad slaves whip all around you like this.
And you can set videos for how long you want the clip to play for. So I set that clip for 60 seconds. And then when the game is ended, I can see my results. They can vote on what they thought of the Kahoot on their end. And I get this option to either download it right to my computer or I can send it right to Google Drive. And you'll get these results in a really nice spreadsheet in Google Drive. And it will connect right to your account. And if you have multiple Google Drive accounts, you can pick which one you want to save it to. I'll just save it to this default one. I can also pick what folder I'd like to save this to. So we'll save this to my Google Drive account. And then your final results, after everyone's done taking it, come to you in this really nice, easy-to-read spreadsheet. The green are the correct answers. Red are the ones that they got wrong. I can quickly see all my students, what they got right, what they got wrong. I can see we need to work on our basketball tournament history. No one got any of those right. As far as Great Lakes, it doesn't look like I need to go back over that today. Most of our students are getting that right. In the bottom tabs, I can break it down by question. I can see how quickly questions were answered. I can see who got that question right, who got that question wrong. And I can flip through each question and get broken down data on that. So now, how do you get Kahoot? Kahoot is free. You go to getkahoot.com and you can sign up for a free Kahoot account. When you sign up, you'll get to a screen that looks like this once you get in. And you can create quizzes, discussions, surveys with Kahoot. I can see my Kahoots that I've already had. So if I forgot to download it right after I did that Kahoot, I can do it now. So it keeps a store of all my Kahoots that I've done. I can create a quiz from scratch. Or what's really great is there's a lot of pre-made stuff in Kahoot. If I look at the public Kahoots, there's over 200,000 public Kahoots in here. I could search out something like The Great Gatsby. And I see that there's a lot of already pre-made Kahoots down here. And if I find a Kahoot that I like, I can duplicate that Kahoot, and then it becomes my Kahoot. And the nice thing, it allows me to edit that Kahoot. So if there's some questions on there I don't like, I can my own questions. I can click on this Kahoot. I can see the questions that were asked. I can ask to see the answers and figure out if this is a Kahoot that I like or not. Back in my Kahoot, here I can create a new Kahoot. I used a quiz for the demo. You can also use a discussion or a survey. You type in a name. This is my test Kahoot. Type in my question. Up top, I can then insert images or insert a video. You insert the video from YouTube, and you can pick when that video starts and when that video ends. So if it's a 10-minute video clip, you can tell it to just play 30 seconds of the video, which is really nice. You can tell it to start on the seconds you want to start and end on the seconds you want it to end. You then put your answers in down here at the bottom, and you choose which one is correct. And you can select how many seconds you want that question to run. So that's Kahoot in a nutshell. I really enjoy using Kahoot. My students enjoy using Kahoot. It's a lot of fun to use Kahoot. Next, we have Elson Liu up, and he's going to show you how to use Google Forms along with the add-on Flubru to make it self-grading.
Good afternoon. My name is Elson Liu. I'm the Director of Technology for Plymouth Canton Community Schools, and I'm privileged to work with this great team here. Let me share my screen with you. So Google Forms and Flubru. Flubru is a free add-on to Google Forms. Google Forms, as many of you know, is one of the free collaborative tools built into Google Apps for Education. And I'm not going to go through Google Forms in great detail, but Google Forms basically allows you to create quick quizzes and surveys and have the responses stored in a Google spreadsheet. The kinds of questions that you can ask in a Google form include text questions, multiple choice checkboxes, choosing from a list, a scale, like a Likert scale 1 through 5 or a grid. And this is what it looks like. On the left is what a quick quiz might include. On the right is what the responses would look like in a Google spreadsheet. For Flubru, which is a free add-on to Google Forms, a couple things that you need to do in a quiz. First, you need to collect the student's email address. So one of your quiz questions does need to be an email address for the student. And the second thing that needs to work for Flubru is that you as a teacher need to take the quiz yourself, because Flubru needs to know what the correct answer is. So Flubru, as I mentioned, is a free add-on. I'm going to very quickly show you how to install it, how to enable it with a particular Google Sheet quiz, how to use it to automatically grade the assignment, and then how to email those grades out. So to install it, you'll go to flubru.com, which is their website. You can click on Try It Now on the left. The very first step is to go to the Flubru add-ons page. You'll see in the top right this free button. It'll ask you for permission, and you'll continue. And you'll read through the permissions and accept. And then Flubru is installed into your Google account. Once Flubru is installed into your Google account, You can go to a particular quiz. This is that quiz that I showed you before with the results. And then underneath the Add-ons tab, you should now see an option for Flubrew, and you can enable Flubrew for this quiz. Once it's been enabled, under the Flubrew menu, you'll have more options, including grade assignment. So grade assignment will take you through a very simple wizard. It'll ask you for each question in a quiz. Is it a question that identifies a student? Do you just want to skip the question, or do you want to assign a point value to it? And then it'll ask you which set of responses are the correct answers. Which set is the answer key? That's why, as a teacher, you do have to take your own quiz, or pick your smartest student, I guess, to determine the answer key. Once that happens, Flubrew will automatically grade the rest of the responses based on that answer key. It's very easy. You can see it'll tell you how the class did on each question. It does turn out that Michigan became a state in 1837, and the University of Michigan was actually founded in Detroit, not Ann Arbor, where it currently is. So that is really Flubrew in a nutshell. Pull back. You can also use Flubrew to email grades back to the students. So again, by collecting the students' email addresses in your quiz, if you go to Add-ons, Flubrew email grades, it'll automatically email them their grades back. You have the option to include the questions, an option to include the answer key, and a message. Just a note, because Flubrew uses Google Apps for email, you do have some limits. Personal Gmail accounts are limited to 500 email messages per day. Google Apps for Education accounts are limited to 2,000 email messages per day. There are also a number of advanced features, which I'm not going to go into other than to talk very briefly about them. It is actually possible within Flubrew to set up an auto grade, which means that as soon as a student takes the assessment, it's graded automatically and they get the feedback right away. This could be a wonderful tool for especially older students that you want to create fully automated self-assessment, right? Read Chapter 2 of Romeo and Juliet, take this self-assessment to understand how you are comprehending what's happening in that text. There are also some special operators, some advanced features of Flubrew. You can actually have multiple correct answers. You can have a range of numerical answers. You know, pi is 3.14, or it could be 3.14159. You can also have case-sensitive answers. Abraham Lincoln needs to be capitalized. You might have noticed that Flubrew automatically highlights certain students that have below a certain grade. The default is 70%, but you can change that default to something else. And there are a number of reports. Again, you can see how how the class did on each question. 40% of the students got the year that Michigan became a state incorrect. More of them got the city of the University of Michigan's founding correct. You can also see a report of how your students did as a whole. So 3 students got 0 points, 4 students got 1 point, 3 students got 2 points. So there are a lot of very useful features in Flubrew, and I'll end with some links to some useful resources. The top link is the General Education on Air conference link. The one below is to our specific section, our session. This link for additional resources is a Google Doc that Mark Sulzer showed you at the beginning with an outline of all of our presentations and links to additional resources. We'll also try to answer questions in that document as we see them on the conference website. This is our district's educational technology website, and there is our Twitter handle. So with that, my time is up. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to working with you.